switched over to Frontier and I'm having a lot of difficulties. So if I freeze, I apologize. I'll try to call you from my phone, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So should we begin?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Call to order at what's the official time that you have?
5:31.
5:30. There, 5:31. Thank you. Thanks, Laura. Okay. Did everybody receive the minutes from Tony and have you reviewed them? If so, if there's a motion to accept the minutes?
So
I
do we have a
motion.
quorum? Wait a minute. I don't think we have a quorum. We need four for a quorum, right?
I thought we said 3.
No,
Yeah,
because there's only four
majority.
of us. Majority, yeah. So we have three. There's only four of us.
So that's not a quorum, right? Is that for a quorum? Quorum is of, I don't know if there's two vacancies, how that works, honestly.
There was
I'm pretty
something, we looked into this last time, and
yeah.
I think we came up with the number of 3,
No,
but,
three wasn't right though, Patty.
oh,
It's definitely four because I looked in the ordinances.
oh,
So
okay.
three would be for a group of five or six. It's four.
Mm.
It's a majority. Is a quorum.
But if we
Well,
have two
we have
people,
two
two
vacancies.
vacancies, yeah. If we have two vacancies, Sheila, does that matter?
I don't honestly know the answer, but what you might want to do is either, I think minutes are probably the only vote you're trying to take. So either table that till next time or take the vote and then find out if you might,
Okay,
you know,
all
if it
right.
turns out you can't, then you'll just have to
Yeah,
do it over again at the
okay,
next meeting.
okay, sounds good.
I would ask if we could take the votes because I have a couple other things as well. So
Yeah,
and then it just had to redo it. So
yeah.
all right. So does someone want to make a motion?
I motion that we accept the minutes as written.
And I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Patty. All in favor? Somebody can
I,
second that. Okay.
here's Leslie.
Okay, good.
There we go.
Oh, I
So
don't
should we
see
do that
it.
again?
Yeah, I think we should do it again to make it safe. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Leslie.
All right.
How are you?
Hello.
Aye.
Great. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Okay, so we're going to Leslie. We moved for to approve the minutes. So, is there any discussion on that?
Hey.
No discussion. Okay,
No,
so we were voting on it. So, shall we vote again, Tony?
sure.
All in favor of
I,
approving the minutes? Okay, that's unanimous. Great. Okay. Um, I did speak to Robert Clee via email. They have a meeting on the 5th of July, and he will select a representative to attend the meetings here
perfect,
on out for our
perfect,
committee. Okay,
perfect.
so we will move on to Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I just have a
Good
couple
afternoon.
short updates. The Merritt Avenue subdivision has cleared inland wetlands and has moved on to TPZ. Who I expect we'll pick it up on now that I've learned July 5th. And then they will determine the open space if they will request that. There is a new subdivision that was submitted to inland wetlands. This one is a parcel that's at 356 Rimmond Road, just before you go out of town on Rimmond Road. It's on the left-hand side, I believe, if you head out of town. And it's about a 25-acre parcel, much larger than Merritt Avenue. And in their plan, I am told, I have not seen the plan, they have specified 8.2 acres of open space. So that's not quite a third, I guess, of that parcel. And don't know much about what that land is, but we will look at the land. That was went in front of inland wetlands for the first time. It was introduced but not discussed. The developer just wanted to get it submitted, and they'll pick it up when the developer's ready.
Can you just repeat where this is located again?
It's at 356 Rimmon Road.
356 Rimmon Road?
Right.
It's where the overpass. It's kind of near where the overpass is, I think, right, Tim? Right when you're going out of town or in town, on Rimmon. Oh no, wait, not the overpass. That's Fountain. Sorry, that's something else.
Yeah.
It's alongside the Meese property, if you guys know where that is.
Yes.
Oh, I know where it is. Yeah. Sorry, I had Fountain Street on the brain. Okay.
It is contiguous to, or contiguous and or close to some town and Woodbridge Land Trust properties. So, and then on the in Sonia Seymour side, it is contiguous to the Birmingham utility, which would now be the Regional Water Authority properties there. So it continues to expand that open space um, and is of interest because it may be just enlarging that open space and maybe access for the townspeople. The third update, I believe I've talked about this before, that the Conservation Commission is going to spend the bulk of their time for the next few months on the Greenway plan, description and plan, the 20th anniversary of having our Greenway certified by the state of Connecticut. The description, things have changed in 20 years, and so we're going to be updating that description and enhancing it to include better identify public access, safety issues, some needed initiatives, and extensions to the Greenway itself, tying together some other parcels of land in the town that are not formally tied to the Greenway. They're open space and they're provide a Greenway, but we're as we look to connect those, we'll be identifying other properties that would be worthy of acquisition in order to make lands contiguous. So that's about my update for tonight. I do have one other comment, which I think was better saved for when you discuss the list of 2014 list of Cupop properties. I'll save it till then.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so much,
You're
Tim.
welcome.
Any questions for Tim? Okay, Sheila.
Tim, I wanted to share with you. I know you guys have been talking about. I don't know if you can read that. I walked the Woodbridge Greenway.
That's a new one, Sheila.
Yep.
That's
They gave them out that day. My whole family, when my kids were little, and they're all in their 20s now. So.
Isn't that right? Collector's items for sure. I just
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted somebody. I just came across a brochure that I really haven't looked at, but the front page said it was the walks around Woodbridge, prepared by a Boy Scout, but of many years ago. Interesting to say the way the trails were perceived then. Different
Yeah.
names.
Tim, I will tell you, I also have a copy of Reverdy Whitlock's presentation that he gave that day on that walk. So Reverdy was the town historian, and he had a document that he handed out. So I have a copy of that. If you don't already have it, I can scan it and send it to you if you're interested.
I may not. I have a couple of things by him. There was a booklet that I've come into possession of that seems to have his descriptions of the trails throughout town.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. So for my update from the Board of Selectmen, we did meet, I believe it was June 8th. One item from that meeting that I wanted Cupop to be aware of is we gave permission to a Girl Scout troop to put a little lending library, a little free library at
Yeah.
Fitzgerald Track. So it's going to go right near the sign when you first come into the parking lot. Immediately to your right when you pull in, the little lending library will be right there, and it's going to be probably installed in the fall when they're back at school. But we gave them permission to move forward with their project, and we figured that was a better location than anywhere else in the park. So that's sort of been situated. And then the only other update from the Board of Selectmen is we continue to work on our strategic plan, and we're boiling down into various tactics to achieve the strategies around three goals. And one of them has to do with publicly owned property that is used for recreation, either passive recreation or more active recreation with ball fields, et cetera. And that is probably the area where we most would like Cupop and conservation and TPZ and several other partners to work with the Board of Selectmen so that we can achieve some very specific goals. We also will be dealing with, in the strategic plan, the allocation of the ARP and the ESSER 2 money that is due to Woodbridge from the federal government. There are a lot of options and there are a lot of needs, but what we're going to try to do is figure out if there are some portions of that money that could go towards enhancing outdoor, either recreational activities, gathering spaces, that sort of thing. Considering that this is all about recovery from the pandemic, and it's probably smart to make our town a little bit easier for folks to gather outdoors where it's always going to be safer in terms of air quality. So those are the two big updates from the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you,
Sheila,
Sheila.
is,
Sorry, go ahead, Tim. I was just going to say, does anybody have any questions?
yeah. Sheila, is the draft strategic plan available?
Yeah, it's on the website now. It has been further refined and it might be a little easier to read at the iteration we're going to meet. I believe our next meeting is July 8th, which is the Friday before the Board of Selectmen is meeting the following week. So what we're up to right now is trying to figure out the sequence of this, because we are trying to make progress in the next year, right? So as the fiscal year 23 begins, July 1, we have a little bit more than a year because our elections this year will be in November of 23 next time around. So we want to be able to achieve things before we have potential turnover and who's on the Board of Selectmen. So this is meant to be a plan for this Board of Selectmen. So we really are going to want to sequence. We have, 18 months to get all of these various strategies achieved. So once we figure out which ones are going first, we're going to start scheduling folks to come and speak with us. So certainly whatever touches on conservation or requires Cupop's input or TPZ's input, et cetera, it might be helpful if the three groups meet. I know that the three groups had met in the past jointly while they worked on the plan of conservation and development. And I don't know if it might be, particularly Tim, the document sharing that you have on the town website now, where you have like your sort of archive of documents.
Yeah.
I was thinking that there are already some documents there that were Cupop jointly created documents.
Yep.
And then this update for the list of publicly owned property is maybe something else that Cupop would like to share. So maybe we put a copy of it up in your collection so everyone in conservation can see it, the public can see it.
Yeah.
Might be a good place
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
very willing to
Did
share.
I answer your question though? I think I just gave you more, but I didn't answer
You
your question.
glanced by it on the way. But
Sorry.
So is in the Board of Selectmen section? Is that where I would find it? Because I looked one time and I didn't see it, and that may have been premature. It may have been me not
Yeah, it was.
looking at.
So it's
it.
been there at least since the annual town meeting.
Okay.
So why don't we
I'll
make
take
sure
that
to put
offline,
that
but I mean,
link?
I'll-
Yeah, let's put it in the minutes too, just in case anyone's reading our minutes and would like to see it. We can add that there.
Yeah.
Yeah, add the
Get it
link.
and start to
Yeah.
think about it at least if we're going
Yeah.
to be asked to comment.
Great.
Great, thank you, Sheila. Sheila, can I just ask, is there any discussion as whether or not there's a referendum that's being planned for the country club?
Oh, so we were just talking with the Woodbridge Board of Ed needs a referendum for their roof project potentially. So that one we sort of have on a horizon. No, in the strategic plan, the draft that's going to be available on the website just simply says, consider the potential future uses of CCW, and there are no details underneath that. And we explained at the annual town meeting that we're working to develop some of the steps that will come. We do have some draft language that will be discussed at the July Board of Selectmen meeting, that's going to entail several steps. And, until we meet again as a subcommittee, we're not even ready to say what we think those steps will be. But certainly by the time the July Board of Selectmen meeting comes around, we'll have outlined some potential steps that still have to be discussed by the Board of Selectmen. So
Okay.
suffice
So it's
to
not
say,
coming
we're
in
not,
July.
we're not scheduling a referendum right now, that's for sure.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay,
I
any
just have
questions for
one-
Sheila?
Yeah, just one,
go ahead.
would the Grove project would fall under this subcommittee's evaluation of projects, right, Sheila? The possible future use of the Grove.
Yes, and I think I understand that the 2030 committee is also part of that. Perhaps it's not.
I think
Whoever
it's
it
the
is has to
center.
first, yeah, whoever it is has to first give an update to the Board of Selectmen, and then we're going to know a lot more. And that's basically how the strategic plan is going to work. We're going to ask for the people who have details about these various projects to come to us so that the Board of Selectmen can hear the details, but also the entire public can hear the details. And this way you don't have to attend every single meeting that's happening here, because there are quite a few.
Right, that sounds,
I think Patty, when I reported last meeting, and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, it was my understanding that the Grove is now being attached, that project is now being attached to, is it called the Woodbridge Community Center? Did I get that right? The Woodbridge Community Center, I believe. Is that what we, is?
Oh, the building committee for the old firehouse?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
they're
could-
they're also going to come to us and give us an update. So
yeah. I didn't hear that. I just knew it was the strategic plan subcommittee, plan wasn't finalized as to how those projects and the funding was going to be allocated. But I didn't hear about that, Nicole, but that could be, makes sense.
Okay, thank you, Sheila. All right, moving on. So the Housing Opportunity Study Committee update, which Sheila can jump in here as well. I don't think we've updated everybody since our last meeting. The report was filed or given to the Board of Selectmen on the due date of June 1st. And then there was a subsequent special meeting after that to allow the board, or actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't June 1st. It was in May, correct? And then there was a subsequent meeting of the Board of Selectmen, a special meeting to discuss that. And it's my understanding that it was approved and has been submitted to the state. I would have to defer to Sheila to see if there's any update on that, but that's as far as I've heard. And I know that we have, our term is due to expire August 17th of 2021 for that particular committee. Sheila, do you have any update on anything from the state?
they did receive our copy of the affordable housing plan for the town. When we passed it at the Board of Selectmen, part of the motion was that, clarifying that we can update this at any time. We don't have to, there's no particular process. Anytime we want to supply an update to that, we will. And yeah, like I said, the state has received it. I think about half of all municipalities submitted on time and the other half did not.
That's
But
correct.
we did. And
Yes.
a lot of thanks goes to the housing committee for all the work they did to get that ready for us. Thank you.
And there was a write-up in one of the newspapers that I saw all throughout Facebook that did indicate what Sheila said, that only half of the municipalities did meet the deadline, and we were one of them. So very excited about that. And then we have, so the other issue, and I was going to skip the in-person meeting status August meeting discussion until we get to there for next meeting on number 8, if that's okay with everybody. And I wanted to jump in to other business. I spoke with Ellen Skeletar today because we do have 2 vacancies on the committee, and I would like to have those filled as soon as possible. Initially, I spoke with Beth, who did refer the situation to Ellen. So I do have a meeting on Thursday at 10 a.m. to discuss that with her. So hopefully we will have a full commission sometime soon. Which is very helpful in case any of us decide to go on vacation or not here, and we have quorum, right? So, and plus we have some projects coming up, potential projects that we are going to need all hands on deck for. So it'd be very helpful to have a full commission to complete those. Another issue under other business and lore, this is, I'd like to bring this to your attention if I could, as our diversity representative. I did speak with Jerry Weiner about the potential of collaborating with your committee to ensure that all facilities are made available to all with disabilities. He did not see any issue with that. I know we did defer that to this date for me to speak with him. So I was hoping, Laura, that we could potentially meet and have a collaboration between our two committees and identify any outdoor spaces, buildings, etc., that could benefit from some type of, I don't like to use the word renovation, but some
ARA.
yes, yes. And we could perhaps use some of the ARP funds, as Sheila was indicating, to make the outdoor spaces and spaces within town accessible to everyone.
Mhm.
I know we discussed this last meeting about the fields accessibility, and I have experience with that, with the dog park, because we did make the dog park accessible,
Mhm.
wheelchair accessible, etc. So I have spoken in the past to actually the federal agency in charge of this about how we can do that. There are ways to make these fields and other properties, publicly owned properties, accessible to individuals with disabilities that do not cost a lot of money and are very uh, will not be a big burden. So I was hoping that potentially, Laura, we could meet and speak about that potential collaboration and kind of take a little tour of all of the publicly owned properties to see what can be done and
Mhm.
potentially use the ARP funds for that.
Okay.
Okay.
The art or ARP?
Are they, is it ARP funds? Sheila, which ones are,
If you're talking about the American Rescue Plan
Plan.
Act,
Mhm.
Yeah, ARP.
yeah,
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
not
Yeah,
ARF,
ARP.
ARF. That was a group that
It's
used
ARP,
to
ARP.
work with. Okay.
Yeah, ARP. I was
Hey,
second guessing myself. I said I thought it was ARP, but I'm not sure if I say something incorrectly.
I
But
think they say
yes, ARP.
ARPA. They say
ARPA.
ARPA because there's Plan Act, I think, are the last two.
I didn't put the A at the end of the ARP. I said
ARPA, so it's ARPA?
ARPA.
Okay. Okay. ARPA. Okay.
And the money that went into the school is called ESSER 2 is actually
Esther
what
2. Esther 2. Yeah.
ESSR and then Roman numeral 2.
Yeah. Esther
I
2.
put an A. I put an A after my ARP, so I'll say ARPA from now on. So I was hoping that that could be a potential project that we could work on.
Mm.
Um, so I guess I'll bring us right into projects. Tim,
Yeah.
I know you wanted to discuss the. Oh, does anybody have any questions about
Yeah.
the potential collaboration?
Yeah, one question. The spaces that you're talking about making accessible, are they interior or exterior or both?
Both.
Okay.
I know, and again, I need to familiarize myself with what buildings. I know that there was work done on the town hall. I know about that work that was done. I do know that there are issues with individuals gaining access to some of the fields at Pease when we have the Pease Park accessible playground right there. I know it's very difficult to be able to access and get to the fields in the back. And this would not involve having to put down a non-porous surface like some kind of a cement or anything like that. To the contrary, that does not need to be done. At the dog park, we did not do that. We actually put down crushed stone, which, as I indicated, the federal agency actually recommended as well. So I am not in any stretch of the imagination saying let's make an entire paved area or anything of that nature. That's not necessary for accessibility. But we will be looking at both and see what is possible to do using the ARPA funds potentially.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So if there's anything interior that you need me to help you with looking at spaces, because
That's your.
for code upgrades, I could assist you with that.
well, thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm going to put you down right next to that too.
Yep.
Great. All right. Thank you. Okay, Tim, now I know you wanted to defer one of your comments to the 2014 list of publicly owned properties. If I can just give an update on that, I did send an email to the assessor using the verbiage that was recommended by Sheila for previous requests. I have not heard back from the assessor regarding that list. And so that we can update. Um, and it's my understanding from Tony that the assessor is out of the office for this week. So I'm hoping to get that update. I don't, if we discussed this last time, and I don't know if there's that many types of property or changeovers has occurred since the last date. So I think it's something that I could definitely do on my own. But I just wanted to make sure that you have the copy of that. So, Tony, am I correct in saying that she is not available this week? Is that correct?
That's right. She's out of the office the entire week.
Okay. So hopefully, as I get that information, I can certainly forward it to everyone, so that we all have that information. And again, I don't know if it's going to be terribly um, voluminous in terms of changes, but Tim, do you have any input on that?
I don't have any input on the update you're trying to get from the assessor. Uh, and I was not at the last meeting, so I really don't know completely know what the tenor of your discussion is on this item, except that you're trying to update the list. Uh, and what I referred to as a comment earlier was some comment, some part question, and some part suggestion. Um, and so, looking at that list, which is divided into sections, I wondered why there's not a section on easements that the town owns on other pieces of property. Um, easements.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, Tim, but actually, one of the a piece of information I requested was exactly. I said I was asking for property owned by the town. Not only that property, but Woodbridge Land Trust, land with conservation easements on it, and I did ask for that as well, so that we can add that in there to that list.
Conservation
Because
easements are important, and in fact, they're noted when the land trust owns them in section number 1, I believe, for a number
Mhm.
of the properties in section number 1. There are other types of easements, and I'm not really talking about easements. Well, I mean, utility companies own easements, but we're not
Yep.
talking about those. But there are other types of easements that the town might own on a piece of property. And an easement is a real interest in the property, and it's an asset and should be, in my view, should be tracked. So there are some known easements having to do with pedestrian access to the property.
Mhm.
So they should be all up to date. All those easements are reflected in the Cupop listing, um, unless they've been, created since 2014,
Yeah.
2015.
The ones and I may have missed it, Sheila, and you're good at looking at being on the meeting and looking at the same time. But there are a couple on Enoch Drive, I believe.
I think they're listed. Yep.
Are
I'm
they
familiar with
listed as
those.
an
Yep.
easement?
Round Hill. Yeah.
And 39 Round Hill?
Yep. Let's see. Yeah, I think those are because they were purchased by the town, and we've got the purchase date and the size of the property and we have it listed.
Uh,
You have
So
it, Sheila?
if you're aware of another one or any address that you think might not be listed here and it
So
predates 2014, we should probably check to find out
which
why it's not.
section are you seeing those in?
Let's see. Hold on. So there's the Marlowe property on 31 Enoch, and there's something called vacant land on 25 Enoch.
Yeah, I'm talking about 21 and 23.
Category 3.
20
21 and 23. I don't see those on Enoch.
and then 39 Round Hill. Those are the ones I suspect from documentation that I have that are true easements. The town has well, the town may have paid some money to get the easement, but you're not buying the property.
Mhm.
So it's not publicly owned property in one sense, but an easement is a real estate interest in the property, a real interest. And the problem is, I don't know what we don't know. In other words, there may be a bunch of them, but where are they listed?
This
And
might be a question
typically,
that the
I don't,
town clerk can help with.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Rather than the assessor, I think the town clerk, because they're gonna have access to the records. Anything that involves the town of Woodbridge in a legal entity
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
would definitely be recorded in the town clerk's office, so this
Yeah,
might be a
yes.
question for.
Yeah, I mean, these are typically recorded on the land records of an individual property. The challenge gets to be, well, if you're not asking about a specific property, how do you
Yeah.
find them?
What were
Yeah,
the
tell me again
And
those
the- and the-
addresses on, what number Round Hill?
Yeah, what number was it?
39 Round Hill.
Okay.
And what was the Enoch again?
Enoch was 21 and 23.
Because I saw Enoch, I think one of those, one moment. 21 and 23. Okay, there's 25 here.
Yeah, the town does own a piece on Enoch that I'm aware of, and the trail goes through there. Um, the person actually, I think, who would have at least some memory and records would be the town attorney. Because typically they would be involved in reviewing any language that has to do with an easement. But again, that's not typically they wouldn't just keep a list of them. They would maybe remember having being involved in a certain piece of property.
Well,
But
the town clerk should have all that information, I would think.
yeah, it's on the land records.
Right,
It's just which of the how many pieces of property in
Right.
town you go to look, or
yeah.
do you have someone go to all of them? And it's very labor intensive because
Should,
it
so
may
we
not
should
be
have a list of them, you're saying?
well. I don't. Perhaps the town clerk has a list of them. I'd be
Okay.
surprised, not quite
Yeah.
honestly.
Mhm.
So Tim, are you saying that these easements that you're referring, just the, and there could be others as you mentioned, but the Round Hill and Enoch properties that you're talking about, do you believe that these were easements prior to this list being created in 2014 or since the creation of the 2014 list?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I just have a document that says there's an easement here. Typically, they're for well, the ones I come across are typically for trails, for pathways crossing somebody's property, and therefore represent a valuable asset for the town, and we shouldn't lose track of them. There might be easements that we don't have. Excuse me. There may be easements that we have not taken advantage of, and therefore have lost track of them, and that's a big loss. And in the flip of that is
Mm.
where people think we have an easement, and there is none.
Yeah, so for example, Tim, I'm looking at 23 Enoch in the you know how to look up on the tax map on the town website? So you
I
can
do.
get to vision appraisal from there.
Yeah,
And I don't see the town of Woodbridge listed anywhere on that. So,
it wouldn't be because it's not a
well,
property owner. It does
right,
not
but there's no
have.
sale of an easement either,
Well,
as far as I.
the easements are typically not sold. They're most often they're just granted by the
Yeah,
landowner
right.
for a purpose.
So in other words, this
If,
could
if,
potentially
if
be a
it's a gas
situation
company,
where
then you're going to sell
we'd
it
have
to the
to
gas
look at
company.
every single property in the town of Woodbridge to determine whether or not there's an easement.
It- uh, I'm sorry, Nicole, I missed the question. I was talking and overtalked you. Repeat it, please.
Sorry, I was breaking up. It's this terrible internet. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So essentially, we could be potentially in a situation where we need to um, look at every property in Woodbridge to determine whether or not there's an easement.
I would hope that 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 would be a
I
big
mean, that's,
task to undertake, a big ask.
yeah.
I think you, we should. My suggestion would be let's get the list started,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
that we going in the future we keep track of them, and then you start asking people who may know, people who've been here a long time, people who may, and asking the town attorney. And maybe if there was a prior town attorney, I don't know the history, to call their memory of where these things might exist.
Now you have a document pertaining to the three properties you mentioned this evening. Can you share that?
That is right now. Those are lent out I, to someone. It's a paper map, and it's yeah. So I can't readily share that. But
So
when I get that back, I can, I don't know, try to make a copy somehow.
So Tim, you can also go, if you go to the town clerk's page, there's a link to land records and you can look up in the current land records. So
Right,
you would see the actual deed and you'd be
right,
able to see if there's something written in it. So
right.
for those three
That's right.
properties, it probably wouldn't take,
The warranty deed. Yeah, and
yeah.
Sheila, as we've said a couple times, the difficulty is, if I know an address where I suspect there's an easement, great. It's a great resource online to go to. But if I'm just trying to say, what are all the easements in town, that
Yeah,
are,
that Cupop list is meant to contain all of it. So
yeah,
if there
and
are
this
some
is,
that we don't have, this is where we
and
should
that,
ask.
there's a fine point here. It's not a piece of property the town owns, but it's a real estate interest that the town owns
Yeah, so we
because
have
it's
things that we
granted to the
don't
town.
own. Right, so we have even first right of refusal is listed in the Cupop
Yeah, I
list,
saw
right?
that
So we
as a
don't own those at
category,
all.
and that's
So, yeah, I
that's
mean, an easement is a little more than a first right of refusal,
yeah.
so it
It's
should
written
definitely be
into the
listed.
deed in the very similar way to the first right of refusal, and we list
Mhm,
those, and so
yeah, and then we
Now,
also have that historic, restriction, historic, um, easement for, what was the Hitchcock property on Center Road at one time, so that's another type of,
type of, yeah, that then valuable to know
it's
about.
a yeah, and money was exchanged for that,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I just, my experience with the Park Association, um, very similar circumstances. They had a number of easements that had been forgotten over time, and it took some work to pull those out and find them. Uh, and they didn't have that many parcels, and there was some research done on surrounding parcels, and there were some easements on surrounding parcels that became to be beneficial to the park association. So it's important. I think it's
Well,
important to know.
if you go way back in the record, this Enoch Drive in this vicinity is subject to a 999-year lease. So if you want to go back to the beginning of the time there, you
Is that right?
find some interesting, yeah,
That's
interesting
still in
obligations that
effect.
are still on the books.
Who owns the lease?
Enoch Newton was the original owner, so
Okay.
hmm,
it's on my history blog.
Well,
great. So I guess, the properties that you just mentioned, Tim, were those close to a trail? I mean, you mentioned obviously
yeah,
there may be easements close to
yeah.
properties, so
Well, I
we
mean,
could start there and look at the
that,
properties that touch a
it,
trail. And
as I mentioned in my update, as we're updating the greenway description and plan, the, the description, we're converting it from a general description. The trail goes from the Alleghi property to this property, across this road to this property, and we were detailing every property that the trail crosses. There is a set of a greenway trail currently in town, through the own pieces of open space we have. Um, in researching that, we were trying to establish what kind of protections those properties had. so that the integrity of the trail would be maintained. And this is where we started seeing, yeah, it's owned by this entity, the land trust. Okay, that's fairly well protected. This entity has an easement on it. That's fairly well protected. And we found other properties where the trail passes through, and and it's a private piece of property, and we can't find an easement to it. So we're seeing some challenges, and then where we have an easement, we want to make sure that it's really there, and where we think we have an easement, yeah, we have some more research to do, or else we're going to have a problem in the continuity of what's established.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll try to. I mean, you're right. It should all be in there. So let's try and narrow it down. Sorry, I think I switched to my phone. Can you guys hear me better now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep. Good. Okay. So you kept freezing on me. All
My
right. Great.
battery is
So
low.
hope.
I said my battery is low, so
Okay.
50%. So
So hopefully we can get that list and start trying to update this list and add in the additional easement information that Tim brought to our attention. Um, I spoke today with, I'm trying to read my handwriting, which it's like a serial killer wrote it. Okay. I spoke with Kathy Barkin today regarding a potential litter project with Cupop in conjunction with Kathy and the
mhm.
team that she had for Rid Litter Day. She's very excited about this potential project. She has suggested that we start every other month having a Rid Litter Day every other month, utilizing the students from the high school for volunteers. As you're aware, a majority of the high school students like to complete their 100 hours of community service for a special award at graduation. And I do know, having a student at the high school, that everyone's typically looking for community service hour opportunities. So she was very excited. We had discussed a tentative first date for sometime in the beginning of September when everyone's back in school, all the vacations are over, to hopefully get a large group of individuals to assist with this project. Um, as we mentioned at other meetings, if this project does, she actually identified specific areas that she has noticed are in pretty bad shape typically, some of which involve state roads, which technically the state should be cleaning up twice a year. And that's what they've been telling um, her, because she's, again, she's very interested, invested in the red litter. Um, how unfortunately, I don't think that that's necessarily happening twice a year. In any event, I had told her, based on Sheila's information, that Fred Capiello would support us and provide assistance if we were in an area that would require for safety reasons, the police. So she was very excited to hear that. So tentatively, I would like to um, shoot for that beginning of September, utilizing Kathy's expertise. I keep calling her Ellen, her expertise in this area. So if anyone is interested in assisting with that, please let me know. More details to follow, but that was what our discussion was today. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. I also contacted or attempted to contact Andy Danzig, the trail master, for two reasons. The first was, again, to coordinate with Andy to ensure that our trails remain clear of litter, things of that nature. And also, Laura's concern regarding helping clear out the Japanese barberry, as Laura had indicated on the racebook track. So I did send out an email to him regarding the littering issue, plan on speaking to him about the Japanese barberry issue. And I have not heard back from him yet. Hopefully, I will be able to get in contact with him shortly so that we can start assisting in that area as well. And I will keep you updated between now and the next meeting if I do hear something, by the way, from any of these individuals regarding this. Any questions about that? Laura, Just to make sure, you were talking about the Racebrook track, right? When you saw the Japanese barberry?
Yes, what, my neighbor saw them there at the Racebrook track, but I've also seen some at the Fitzgerald property. Walking around the
Great.
Fitzgerald property, I've
Uh,
seen some spots.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Not great that it's there, but
Yeah,
definitely give
yeah,
us
yeah.
you know.
Nicole,
Yeah.
uh,
Yes.
when you tried to
Yes.
contact
Mhm.
Andy, I assume it was by email. Did you use the Trail Master email address for Andy?
Yes.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
that one he
Yes, I
usually
do.
responds to pretty well.
He's
Yeah.
come to
I'm
some
going.
of our meetings in the past too. He probably would be willing to come and even kind of update um, at a meeting.
Yes, I'm sure yeah, I've been at the meetings before when he's presented, so I'm sure, he may be on vacation. I'm sure it's not, I'm sure he'll be contacting us as soon as he gets the email.
Yeah.
Um, so anything about Andy? Anything additional? Okay. The 2015 sustainability standards. Tim, I don't know if you received a copy of this as well. As you may recall, and Tim, you missed the last meeting. I met with Betsy Yagla and Sheila and Beth and Tony to discuss potential projects for Cupop. And this was an area which Betsy was very happy to that we were willing to potentially take on this project.
Mhm.
Sheila did send us an email, and I hope everyone got it. Um, and up to, it's 2018. Geez, what did I just do with it? One moment. The Sustainable Connecticut 2018 Efficient Physical Infrastructure and Operations. I'm going to call it a worksheet, although I don't know if it's technically a worksheet. That indicated she brought our attention to number 7, which discussed, and I hope I looked at the right one, Sheila, which discussed the high school, Beecher Road, the library, public works, etc. This is a project that obviously, if we decide to take on this project, and I'm going to get to all of that at the end of these Coupon projects to take votes to see if you want to add these and solidify these on our project lists. This is a project that will take us quite some time, which is another reason why, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we do need all hands on deck regarding the sustainability standards project. Um, which hopefully, again, as I indicated in the beginning, I'm hoping to fill the 2 vacant spots so that we have more than a few of us able to work on this. Um, this is quite um, filled with information, voluminous in terms of looking at the West Hartford report that Betsy mentioned, that the town liked and preferred to have a report that was similar to one created by West Hartford, which was the March 2019 report that was sent out as part of the packet. And we did get the notes from, or draft rather, from May 5th of 2017, which Sheila will have to explain about the updated information in the Connecticut Sustainability Worksheet that she did provide, which I believe the date was 2018. In any event, combining all of this information and creating a report similar to the one that's utilized by West Hartford was what Betsy indicated that was preferred. So, Sheila, if you can fill us in on any updated information regarding the 2018 report.
Sure. I know that there's software that's used to track all this. So there's a system that's in place from UI. And I
Mhm.
think Betsy has the login for that. So it can generate reports um, depending on what your focus would be, right? So I think if you define what the goal is right now, we're doing a certain level of achievement of these sustainability measures, use of electricity, et cetera. I do know, and I just spoke with someone earlier today from the Woodbridge Board of Ed, that they're very interested in pursuing a solar project at Beecher, which
Mhm.
would necessitate, believe it or not, another building committee for Beach Road School to be formed. It took like 6
Another
years
bad.
committee, yeah. So and we'd had to be very careful in committing to any solar arrays on the roof at Beecher. We also have some ongoing performance contracts that we don't want to step on top of those. So we may have to wait for them to expire, or we may have to phase them out in some way. But all in all, when we went for the bronze certification in the sustainable CT program, there were options that we could take as a town to take additional steps towards more sustainable energy, greener energy use throughout the town. So I think that we would, from the Board of Selectmen standpoint, I think we would want all the folks who are interested in this to be pulling together and be a focused group. So perhaps that's a special committee of some sort that would do it. Maybe there will be a couple of members of Cupop, a couple of members of, maybe it's conservation that's interested in solar. And then some folks over at Beecher, I know, are going to want to be part of that as well. So I think it kind of remains to be seen what the exact purpose of this project would be before you guys start thinking about what it's going to take to move it forward. So
I would be interested in that.
yeah, so Laura, it's similar to what we did with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sustainability. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, is
And-
it, Sheila, going to be more of a situation where I'm going to use the housing committee as an example, right? So the report is created, that could be changed, edited at any time. That just identifies, putting into sustainability language versus housing, but identifying areas where solar could be used, and minimizing electrical output, things like that. Or do you think that it should be something more specific with a specific plan in mind, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because there are potentially 3 building committees that would all be
Yeah.
thinking about energy, right? Um, at some point, I think it would be helpful for a group to come together to advise on energy options. But each of these building committees will have technical oversight of the project, so they'll have to include it into the project. But maybe it's one sort of advisory committee that comes together to make some recommendations. And I think that it's certainly an area where we have staff at town hall, and this is part of their job as well. So we would want to defer as much to the professionals there as we can without overburdening them. So I think that's always our the balancing act that we need to do, is to say we can't do so many things that our staff can't keep up, and we obviously, because we need to keep our taxes in check, we can't
Mhm.
add staff just to do
Right.
these projects.
Yeah.
So
Which I
that's where
think
the
is why,
volunteers would come in.
yeah, which is why I think Betsy was thrilled to forward the sustainability information, to see if there's any assistance that she could get in creating this report. Um,
Yeah,
if
and some of the
Sheila,
folks who, there was actually, before the sustainability committee, there was an energy task force, and that was John Gorham was on that, and Laura, you may have been part of that as well. I don't
Yes,
remember.
yes, I
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
So that goes all the way back to like 2013. I think
Yeah.
she first established that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And-
I think there
and-
are some experts in town who could
Definitely,
certainly.
definitely.
Yeah.
And I think also, I don't know how to incorporate it, but I think that we should start looking as a town for residentials. The plug, the electric vehicle plug for the generator, um, the electric generator, the wall one. Um, I received some kind of a survey about if I would be interested in something like that, the cost and whatnot. So I think that maybe having a plan like that, also like we did with the solar panels on the building, or maybe even reviving the solar panels for residential homes, I think would be a good thing. It would be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, Laura, when you sent me that email, I did bring it to the strategic plan committee, and so we do have an item in the strategic plan now that says both to revive residential programs so that
Mhm.
individual homeowners can take advantage of them,
Right.
and then also look into projects for the town-owned buildings. So there's sort
Right.
of two prongs of
Absolutely.
that
Good.
are
Good.
now in the strategic plan.
I was in London last week, and England, they have 20 for 2035, all vehicles will be electric. All vehicles will be, that's their date to be all electric. And then at the same time, they're going to take the older vehicles and they're going to make them hybrids. They're going to take parts from like Tesla and other electric vehicles that are involved in crashes and whatnot. And I think that that's brilliant. I really think that that's such a brilliant idea, to take the gas, just completely gas guzzlers, and just make them a hybrid. And then the other interesting thing that I saw was you walk by the homes, and they have little buckets for compost, and somebody comes and picks them up. There, I guess, there's the city comes and picks it up. So it's just amazing, all the things that they're doing. I feel like we're kind of behind, with what we're doing.
Yeah, when I was in London, I was thinking the same thing, and I mean, they even have, this isn't necessarily a sustainable issue, but they even have benches where you can, charge phones for free, and
Oh
so
wow,
everywhere, all over
I
the
didn't
city,
see
right,
that.
Laura? I mean, it was so
Yeah,
yes, like
yeah,
if my phone, when your phone die
yeah,
plug, you
yeah,
can for free plug thing in and just sit down on the bench. It's usually in parks and
yeah, yeah.
just relax for a little bit. Um, so I'm wondering, um, based on what everyone's saying. I mean, when I my first reaction after reading this information was that if this was something that it was recommended for Cupop to do, certainly the two individuals that we that get appointed, we would want somebody who has, as Sheila indicated, expertise in this area. But it sounds more like perhaps this is. I mean, you did have an ad hoc sustainability committee previous to this, which you were on, Laura, correct?
Yes,
And
right.
some
Yeah.
and I asked Betsy if there was a deadline for this project. I mean, is there a certain date? And she just wanted me to see if anyone was interested in
Mhm.
working on it as an item for our
Mhm.
committee
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
and we look at the date.
Mhm.
Perhaps if it sounds like from what you're saying is that we go back and I talk to her and indicate that there are members of Cupop that would like to participate. However, perhaps an ad hoc committee to complete this project with some of our members from our
Mhm.
committee, from
Right. Right.
conservation,
Yeah.
and the experts from the town would be the proper um, group to complete this project. Is that
Right.
what I'm hearing?
Yes, I think so. I'm just not
Okay.
speaking for everybody, but
Patty, Leslie, what do you think about that?
I would
Yeah, I
think,
think that makes sense. That's a smart approach.
Hmm.
has
Okay.
anyone
Leslie?
has anyone seen what they're doing in Hamden, where they're offering, I think it's Tesla actually, they're offering a whole huge amount of charging stations at the Hamden Plaza. And I couldn't help but think that would be a good idea for our town to at least investigate it. It's interesting. If you go to the Hamden Plaza, you can't help but miss. There's a ton of them now, though.
good point. Good point.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off that comment, I went to a Scroggs event
Mhm.
on grants not so long ago, and they talked about many, many different programs and many, many different or large amount of money that's coming over the next 5 years into Connecticut and for use by towns. And one of the ones that caught my eye, one of the uses was the installation of charging stations. And their specific interest was and to delve out that money the government wants to delve at the money kind of in phases. The first phase are in locales that are by highways, and thinking the Wilbur Parkway, and draw using that to draw activity into a commercial or business district, I guess. So the interests can come together on this.
That's probably why Hamden is doing it. It's also coincidentally exactly where all those robberies were taking place. But that's not a big issue anymore. But it certainly is a draw to the commercial aspect. You're right.
Okay, so other than Laura, is anyone else interested in being on? When I speak to Betsy, anyone else interested in helping out with this? If there is an ad hoc committee, I don't know if there will be, but if there is,
I would be.
Leslie. Okay,
Yeah.
Patty, did you say I can't do any more? Patty, did you say yes? Okay.
Yeah, I'll do whatever you need me to do.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. And Tim, I'm assuming that conservation will want to be involved as well, correct?
I would have to talk to the commission on that, but I would think you would get some interest. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, I won't speak for conservation then. I'll wait and see if this is what the way that they want to handle it. Um So it appears that right now, as we sit here during this meeting, there's two projects that we do have all the information necessary to determine whether or not we want to make those a permanent project for Cupop. The one being to update the 2014 list of publicly owned properties, taking into consideration not only the updates to the properties currently listed on the list, but also, as mentioned by Tim, to try to investigate, which may be pretty lengthy, but try to investigate potential easements on other properties within town. So, if that's a permanent project that you would like us to keep on our project list, if someone wants to make a, do we have to take a motion on that, Tony?
I, I suspect why not. I mean, I don't know, Sheila. What do you think? Do they need to take a motion on that, or
Probably not, but if everyone agrees to do it, you just put it on the agenda next time.
right? Because you're creating a whole project list, right? So I would think
Yeah.
that it could be added to that project list. Yeah.
Does anybody have any objection to us putting that on the list? I mean, it is our responsibility anyway, so I guess that's something we have to do. So that will be our top list. And again, I'll as soon as I get information from the individuals I've already contacted, I will send it over to Tony and to distribute to everybody so we can look at that. And then the next one would be the littering project with Kathy Barkin, to expand Red Litter Day from 1 day a year to potentially every other month, weather permitting, of course, with a potential first date sometime in the beginning of September. Does anybody have any objection to that remaining on our project list?
No objection.
Okay, thank you. And of course, I'm sure when I speak to Andy, I will bring up those two issues as I mentioned, and then hopefully that will remain on our project list as well. But as of now, we have those two solid projects. Oh, and I'm sorry, I misspoke. Laura, the DEI collaboration. As soon as I don't know when your next meeting is, but
It's Thursday, I think. This Thursday.
it's Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind bringing that
Yeah. No.
up, or would you
Yep.
like me to attend, or what would you like me to do?
I mean, public is welcome. So if you'd like to
Mhm.
attend, you're more than welcome to attend, and you can echo what I say.
Okay, I
You know?
trust you can report. Okay, so I'd make sure you didn't need me there or anything.
No, no,
So
no. Yeah.
great. So I think that'd be great, and I'll keep you posted about the two vacancies. And oh, one more issue, and I apologize. I meant to put this under other business. We also discussed postings at the public properties for weather related postings. For example, on Sunday, I don't know if everybody got this on their phone, but there was a special weather announcement because of the dangerous ozone levels that we had on Sunday. I did speak to Attorney Weiner about that as well. And he said he was going to research it further, but that for now, on site postings, he wouldn't have an objection to. So that may be something that I will speak to. I'm guessing I would speak to either Public Works or Recreation. Who do you think, Sheila, would be the contact person on that?
I would guess that John Adamovich kind of handles signs in general for the various playing fields and the Fitzgerald, but probably wouldn't hurt to also talk with Public Works and see the Parks Department there is Adam might put up signs. It depends, I guess.
And again, I know people's concerns about having just things posted everywhere and haphazardly. So if there isn't a mechanism to post, I mean, like I said, there is one at the dog park, which would handle Fitzgerald. If there isn't one to post, that'd be something that Patty, I think that we discussed potentially having one of the scout troops create, as they did for the dog park, to make something nice
Mhm.
to put there by the ball field, by Pease Road, something like that. So when I do a walkthrough with either Laura or whomever would like to through DEI, if we're doing the collaboration, I'll take note of that as well, so that
Okay.
we could have a potential project for a scout. Does that sound good, Patty?
Yeah, that sounds good. They had given us a list of all their projects, and that it's been out of date. So there's probably this is a good time to reach out to them and incorporate that into their, get the updated list of their projects and make sure they add it.
Okay. So what I may do, if this is a good time, I'll walk through, if anybody wants to join me, the properties, to look for two things. First, mechanism for postings, and second, accessibility. Um,
And
and
third, and third, barberry or invasive
yeah, we
species.
could do Barbary.
Yeah,
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 we could do Barbary. Absolutely.
yeah. Okay.
So if anybody wants to join me, just shoot me an email and
Yeah,
we can
I'm
come up with a
interested.
day.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
interested.
great.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we could do that maybe this week and just kind of pick a nice day and walk through and take notes of
Yep.
where we feel we can potentially assist everybody in town. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, all right. And I think that's it for the Cupop project. It's very lengthy. Leslie, dog park update.
But was able to is my I'm not muted.
We can
Okay.
hear you. We can hear you.
Was able to give me an update at the last minute. She came through. She's amazing. Um, let me get it back. Here it is. Okay, and what she reported was the Woodbridge Dog Park Cooperative is halfway through its third year, and
Wow.
operations are running smoothly. The installation of the water line went as planned and was completed in just 2 days. And the potable water seems quite popular, especially with the heat of the season. She does want everyone to remember that June is membership renewal month, and all residents are encouraged to donate to the park to ensure its continued success.
Great. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Leslie.
Mhm.
Okay, Laura.
Basically, we met last month, and the most important thing was that the committee wrote a letter to to support the budget at Amity. So we were very upset uh, that the budget had failed. That was like the first time in many many years that it failed, and the letter was well written by our chairperson, and she it went out, and I got a lot of compliments on the letter. So and finally the budget was passed on the third try. So that's
Great.
basically, yeah. And we're also working on a Woodbridge Like Me Day, similar to what we did last year. So we're in the planning stages for that.
Great. Thank you, Laura.
Yep.
And I'll be in touch with you. Hope maybe we'll see when we can do our walk maybe
Yep.
before Thursday.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, August 20th. Does anybody have a conflict with that date on vacation or anything like that?
I don't know. I may have a conflict though. So nothing is definite at this point. But
If someone's on, because I know it's still teetering on
yeah,
vacation time, school starts the following week. If it looks like we're not going to have quorum for that day, we have reserved, thanks to Tony, a second date or backup date, I should say, of the 29th, just in case. That's if we don't have quorum, we'll do it that date. And so I wanted to report on that, and then also we have the issue of meeting in person or via WebEx. As of now, it's still up to, as you are aware, Governor Lamont lets people or committees meet via WebEx continuously, has not put a deadline on that. So I don't know what people's feelings are about meeting in August in person.
I prefer WebEx because there's still a lot of people catching COVID, and I know a lot of people that have caught it. And at the same time, if people are away, there's an opportunity for them to get on WebEx than than to come in person.
I agree.
For August.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Sounds good.
So we'll meet via WebEx in August,
Yeah.
and then potentially, then we'll talk about meeting in person again in September when hopefully everybody's settled and no one's traveling all
Right.
over the
Right.
place,
Right.
and we can hopefully meet in person in September. But we'll see how everybody's comfort level is in September.
Yeah. And I get
So right now it's Monday, August. Yep. Sorry.
now. I'm just going to say I think it's a wonderful thing to have hybrid so that for people don't want to go out and drive and 15 minutes to get there and 15 minutes to get home, you're losing half an hour. If people prefer to stay in the comfort of their own home using the WebEx, I think it's a viable option. If some people want to go in person, that's an option for them, but I think,
Mhm.
if it's working, it's worked through COVID. Why get rid of it completely? That's my opinion.
Mhm.
We still have to remember that it still exists. COVID really does exist. It's not over yet. And the
Yeah,
new strains are reported to be highly transmittable
yeah,
and are not
yeah.
responding well to the booster shots.
Hmm.
Bad news. So, I agree, Laura.
Yeah,
Okay, so our next meeting will be, as of now, Monday, August 22nd, 5:30. It will be WebEx, and we will just address the in-person issue, every month, see what
okay.
everyone's comfort level.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah,
Um, so we'll do it that way, and hopefully I will have news about two more appointees. I'm hoping soon, and I will certainly let everyone know as soon as I hear something. Okay.
perfect.
Um, is there any
Excuse
other
me.
new? Yep.
Nicole, what I'll also do is I'll just find out how to define quorum in light of the two vacancies. I'll check with the town clerk's office so that we'll know for future meetings.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. I
Yes, of
appreciate.
course.
Nicole,
Yes. Yep, Tim.
just an update to a question you asked me. I didn't have an answer for. I did some quick research on 39 Round Hill, one of the properties I had mentioned. And there is a warranty deed that contains in it both an easement. It's a Latronica property. Sheila may recognize that. Both an easement and a right of way, which is, I don't know technically if it's the same as an easement, but it's very similar. And that was filed in 2005. So your question was it before or after 2014?
It was before. So that means that potentially not one easement has been listed in this in the list from 2014. So we'll
Well,
definitely have
I
a
mean,
work.
it's a little bit different type of animal, and the people who put that list together may just not have considered it. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
maybe we're just opening a new can of worms, but uh, that may be
All
a
right,
mixed
great.
metaphor, but
Tim, can I ask you in the open space plan, that area of that trail is listed as part of the open space plan, right? In the Greenway Trail that goes over 39.
I'm not sure it's in the, well, you're technically right because at one time, the Greenway plan was in the open space plan. In recent years, it's not been. Um,
Right.
Not to,
So as your committees do, so maybe it would be helpful if maybe we can revisit this at the next meeting as well, but I don't think we need Cupop doing investigation on the property and conservation doing investigation on the property, because my understanding is conservation is looking at the trails. So you're touching on every piece of property that's trail, whether it's publicly owned property or it's not publicly owned property. So maybe this Cupop can let conservation go through this process of looking at these easements that are for the purposes of the trail.
yeah, we are focused specifically on those pieces of property that are touched by the Greenway Trail system.
Right.
There is a
To find out if
greater
they're
number of properties
solidly, yeah.
that may be of concern. And the larger point is getting, and I think I heard agreement is worthwhile to list them in one place,
Hmm.
with
Yeah.
and the place being where the rest of the town's real estate interests are listed.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
So we
you're
could
getting
probably get
information if there's any easement on the Greenway Trail. If you could share that with us, so we can make
Yes,
a giant
yes,
list.
yes.
That'll be
And
best.
when I mentioned I
Mhm.
lent out the document, it's for the sake of someone to research us, just verify. Um,
Yeah, so we probably don't want Cupop to also
no,
start asking that
No,
question
no.
no,
too, right?
for the so if it's
Otherwise,
part of the
we're
Greenway
gonna freak people
Trail,
out.
no, but yeah,
Yeah,
but asking, I would hope that during this process of updating these lists, asking, starting with the assessor, asking the town clerk, asking the town attorney, asking others we know who have had their fingers in the pie of of the town land over the years. Are there other easements you think there are that we could
so
that somebody on Coopop should just take a poke at and see if they actually exist and should be listed?
Well,
yeah.
certainly. Yeah, it would be nice to cross off anything that touches the Greenway Trail off of that list of,
Yeah, well,
uh,
and that's why I
and
gave you the three, and I think there are.
mhm,
I can give you one that
mhm.
I thought had an easement that seemingly I can't find. I'm not skilled enough, and the land records are a little complicated for this one. I may have to get some help from land records, but it's the other properties. What don't we know?
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I will say that this 39 Round Hill, that was previously owned by a member of the Board of Selectmen from way back in the
Oh yeah,
1990s. So, yeah, that I recognize the name now. So
yeah, and
yeah,
they may have been pre
yeah, I think he was involved
interested
at the
in
creation.
helping the town. Yeah.
Exactly. hmm So that goes back to Roger Harrison's administration.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to leave because I'm at 2% battery. So,
Oh, that's okay. I think we're good. So,
okay.
Tim, I'll be in contact if I hear anything regarding easements. First, I'm going to get the information from the assessor I'm waiting for, initially, and then I'll
Yep.
start adding on to that, and then we can categorize all the easements, and then we're good. All right. Does anybody have any questions or want to add anything for the next
I
agenda? Please
motion
let me.
I motion that we, end the, meeting. It's 8:50. I mean, 6:50.
Oh, geez, I was like 8:50. Anyone want a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Leslie. Okay. All in favor?
Yep, I
Okay. Okay. Thank you,
Bye,
everybody. I'll be
everybody.